I'll say this: I don't care what people know better than me. Learning the word, it's not a requirement that you can know it better than somebody to be able to know it. Period. Like as long as you're reading the word and you're able to understand it, it doesn't matter if somebody knows it better or more than you. The scripture is in contingent. It doesn't give you any more power because you know it better. The scripture is the scripture. Anybody it's for everybody, for anybody who wants to read it and study it. It doesn't matter on how hard you study it. It's not a matter of how you study it. It's actually a matter of how you live it. That's the power.
But how can you live it if you don't know it? When it says study the word to like show thyself approved. How can you live something you haven't studied?
How can you live it if you don't know it?
Yeah. You have to study the word.
Oh shit.
It says to study the word to show thyself approved. So it's like you have to study it.
First of all, I want to answer that question, but first of all, I want to know.
Like it's your relationship with God. It's like people forget that the relationship with God came first, and then the word came after that. When it comes with the Bible, a lot of those men who wrote those apostles, they went through sin. They gained a relationship with God, and they wrote their apostle. I think a lot of people, like my friends, because I'm religious, but I do have friends who are not religious, but they have a relationship with God. When I look at them, they life, because of their relationship with God, their life, their wants, their thought process, their needs, it becomes different. They end up reflecting things in the Bible without knowing those scriptures, if that make any sense.
But you can't. How could you have a relationship if you don't know the word? Where would you get the relationship?
Why are you assuming that somebody? Why are you assuming that somebody who has a relationship with God hasn't read or understood the word?
Back then, they didn't even have a book to gain relationship.
How do you have a relationship with a person without interacting with them?
He touched your mind. He changed your thought process. It's
okay, but how would you identify who that he is if you don't have that understanding?
Because you just feel it. You like, you know how you
Who
saying
said you wouldn't have the understanding?
Like, wait, what you say, Darwin?
Why is she assuming that you wouldn't have the understanding?
Where would the understanding come from without?
That's how God works.
Okay, but how would you be able to identify how God works and
the
how
peace that you gain? The peace that
you
gain.
You can use a concordian. You can use a concordian.
Oh, no.
And you're right.
Hold on. Pre-concordian, and again,
Okay. I get what you're saying. Pre-Bible, pre-concordian, right?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I come. Listen, I'm like four services in a day Sunday. I'm not saying I'm Christian. My dad is a far side presiding bishop, and I'm saying you can't have a relationship without a knowledge of the word. The word comes first, so the interpretation of the word comes second. The word comes first. You don't know the word.
Who is arguing that you can have a relationship with God?
She said it was based on.
Based on
let me go.
They have a relationship with God, but they do not have a relationship with religion.
Well,
and when you see how they live their life, how they teach their children, you can teach the things, the morals, and standards that are set in the Bible, that you can learn that through a certain type of living, if that makes any sense. Like, you don't have to have the Bible to teach good morals and standards to not, covet, not to have sex with somebody's wife. You can say that without the Bible.
Where is that from? What she's saying is, how do they even know that? Like, where are they getting that grounding from to begin with?
You have to,
even if they don't use any of the rest of the Bible.
When you look at people's experiences, what happens when you covet another man's wife? What type of trials and tribulations do they take you through?
That's what I'm trying to say. Like, when you say the word covet, that understanding comes from the word. That wisdom and that relationship, it's word first. It's a lot of times people say God said, and they just repeating what's in their own head. You have to go to the word, and once you go to the word, then the relationship comes after you study, you approve of it, and then you live by it. You just can't have no relationship.
Hold tight. Let me get
situation, but I don't think that's everyone's situation when they get to
I'm not saying you're wrong. I was just saying based on the Bible.
Let me get DJ Hamp. And that was going on, brother. Welcome to the panel.
Salute. How y'all doing?
Yeah, you've been summoned.
Good evening. What question specifically? Biblically speaking? Yeah, I mean, it says it pretty thoroughly. Go to Deuteronomy 21:15. It starts out verbatim. If a man has 2 wives, so verbatim it says that. So that's pretty. You probably need more than that because it's what, Old Testament maybe.
No, that's false, bro.
Just read it.
No, I read it. That's false.
What does it say?
There was a whole lot of context in there that y'all are missing.
Well, it says if a man has 2 wives. Are you saying
what did you say? You said Deuteronomy
21 verse 15. Yeah.
That's the Old Testament, though.
Oh, no. We can go with the Old Testament. Hold on, wait.
Yeah, but the rules in the Old Testament was very different than what the rules are for the New Testament.
But they were never done away with. God never said those didn't matter and you don't have to follow them no more. And I think again, when we say in our, unless
you said Deuteronomy what?
Hey, Danielle, just let him pull it up first.
You said Deuteronomy what?
21. You can jump to verse 15.
21 verse 15.
Yeah.
Yeah, remember, this is the law, right? Because you're reading the Torah. So Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, and Numbers, and Deuteronomy. That's the law itself, right?
All right. When a man has 2 wives, one loved and the other hated.
Start over.
When a man has 2 wives, one loved and the other hated, and they both give him sons.
Wife, Sweeney.
All right, hold on, wait. Let me finish.
Okay.
But the firstborn from the hated wife at the time he divided and inherited with his son, he must not treat the son of the loved wife as his firstborn, cutting out the. Hold on, wait. Wait. When you go to war against your enemies of God, your God gives you a victory. Mary, this you do. Take her home, have her trim her hair, yada yada yada. She is then stay home for a month, mourning her father and mother. Then you may take bed with her husband. If it turns out that you don't like her, you must let her go and live wherever she wishes, but you can't sell her or use her as a slave since you've humiliated her. That will clear them from any responsibility in the murder by following these procedures. The Leviticus priest, hold on, wait, going back. If a dead body is found on the ground, this ground that God, your God, has given you lying up open, and no one knows who kills him, your leaders and judges are to go out and measure the distance from the body to the nearest cities. The leaders and judges of the city that is nearest the corpse will then take the heifer that
and then you'll get the context. So that Deuteronomy 21:15 is the top of the context for that specific what is being talked about there. In the
God has chosen that to serve him in this matter by settling legal disputes and violent crimes and by pronouncing blessings in God's name. Finally, all the leaders of that town that is nearest the body will wash their hands over the heifer that had its neck broken at the stream and say, we didn't kill this man. We didn't see who did it. Purify your people, Israel, whom you redeemed. Oh God, clear your people, Israel, from any guilt in the murder. That will clear them from any responsibility in the murder by following these procedures. You will have to absolve yourself of any part in the murder because you will have done it and right by God. When you go to war against your enemies and God, your God gives you the victory and takes prisoners. And then you notice among the prisoners of war, good-looking women whom you find attractive and would like to marry. This is what you do. You take her home, have her trim her hair, cut her nails, discard the clothes she was wearing. When captured, she is then to stay in your home for a full month, mourning her father and mother. Then you may go to bed with her as a husband and wife. If it turns out you don't like her, you must let her go and live wherever she wishes, but you can't sell her or use her as a slave since you've humiliated her. When a man has 2 wives, one loved and other hated, and they both give him sons, but the firstborn is from the hated wife at the time he divided the inheritance with his sons, he must not treat the son of the loved wife as the firstborn, cutting out the son of the hated wife, who is actual firstborn. No, he must acknowledge the inheritance rights of the real firstborn, the son of the hated wife, by giving him a double share of the inheritance that the son of the first, proof of his virality. The rights of the firstborn belongs to him. When a man has a stubborn son, a real rebel, even though they discipline him, he still won't obey his father and mother shall forcibly bring him before the leaders at the city gate and say to city fathers, this son of ours is a stubborn rebel. He won't listen to a thing we say. He's glutton and drunk. Then all the men of the town are to throw rocks at him until he's dead. You will have purged the evil pollution from among you. All Israel will hear what's happened and be in awe. When a man has committed a capital crime, been given the death sentence, executed and hung from a I'm definitely saying a lot of shit you probably shouldn't say on YouTube. Executed
what are you looking for?
From a tree. I'm just reading the whole thing. Don't leave his body hanging overnight from the tree. Give him the decent burial that same day. so that they don't desecrate your God-given land. All right. So what it's basically saying is that under the guise of war, that's the only way that you can have two wives.
No, it's not. You can't. Why would you say basically, right? So you understand that the passage is addressing multiple things, right? So women were spoils of war, right? But it says when you get a woman from a spoils of war, you have to almost take her from the society that she's in, cleanse her of that, and then bring her into yours. Then the context clearly starts in Deuteronomy 21:15, talking about two wives and how you treat the children. Go to Exodus 21:10. Use your smartphone. It's probably faster.
That's what I'm using right now.
21 chapter 10.
While he's looking it up, can I address? I don't see her name with the braids. I think a lot of times we talk about the New Testament as if it's done away of the Old Testament, but like even Jesus in the Bible talks about how he came to fulfill the law, not get rid of it. So like even it's just as valid if it's in the Old Testament. That's all. That's all I wanted to.
But even within the text that you're talking about, yes, he said that. But the other part to that was also saying, I just pulled it up right here because I'm like, I've heard this before, that there's a difference between moral law versus ceremonial law. So in regards to what that was talking about was ceremonial law, like when you're sacrificing animals and things like that. That was done away with because he made the ultimate sacrifice. He was the sacrifice. So there, you no longer needed the ceremonial law, but the moral law, yes, that was still
Right.
in terms of being.
Even within the context of Deuteronomy, the whole point was that if you, and we're saying that it's a spoils of war, but essentially they were telling you have to do right by the women that you when you kill their husbands.
Yeah, but your point,
Sweeney. So again,
Sweeney, you just said women plural, so you even agree that they had more than one wife, huh? Now
right,
go to Exodus 21:10.
But again, that doesn't
blow up the context there. Go to Exodus 21:10 real quick. You'll
wait a minute.
More.
I get that, but what
also,
my whole point was
real quick, Sweeney, because I want to correct this too. Mistaken. Go to Acts 21:20, read up through 26, and see how Paul's sacrificing there too. So you'd be surprised. Oh, Sweeney, go to Exodus 21:10.
I'm already there, but I want to say this. I want to say this, but the whole point, the whole point was that even then it was under specific circumstances. That's the reason why I asked Trev, what reason would you want to have 4 wives? And he gave his reasons. I said, under no law, under no God is that permitted. When he gave his list of the reasons why he would want a wife, I said, no God, no. Neither,
well, I was being facetious.
I know, but that's what I was saying is like, if somebody was to say, hey, look, I only want 4 wives because this girl sucks better, that one does this better, that one has a fatter ass. At that point, there is no God that would give you the ability to have up to 4 wives for that reason. It was always under specific guidelines.
That is irresponsible for you to try to add that to Deuteronomy 21. So go to Exodus 21:10, which comes before Deuteronomy specifically, and there's no wartime, right? Then once you get there, go to 1 Kings 11, and under Solomon, we weren't at war. Right?
I know. I read this one, Exodus 21:10.
What does it say specifically?
21:10. When a man sells his daughter to be a handmaid, she doesn't go free after 6 years like the man. If she doesn't please her master.
Exodus 21:10.
Wait, can you tell me?
21. I'm reading from 7. It's all in between there. So I'm reading the whole thing. When a man sells his daughter to be a handmaid, she doesn't go free after 6 years like the man. If she doesn't please her master, her family must buy her back. Her master doesn't have the right to sell her to foreigners since he broke his word to her. If he turns her over to his son, he has to treat her like a daughter. If he marries another woman, she retains all her full rights to meals, clothing, marital relationships. If he won't do any of these three things, she goes free for nothing. If someone hits another,
you said he does what to another woman?
If he marries another woman, that doesn't say that he married the first one.
I think it's the version you're reading from.
That doesn't say that he married the first one.
You got to read the King James also, but when it says another, right? There's another wife there, right? Get the King James so you can get a cleaner version of the Bible.
So basically, what I gather from that was that when you're talking about a man selling a husband, somebody sold his daughter to a man, and they basically say I gather from that,
what version of the Bible is that?
This is the King. It's basically just interpreting the King James version.
Yeah,
but the King James version.
Yeah,
you said King James version. If he taketh him another wife, her food is still the same thing.
Yeah, if he takes another wife, right, the first wife's duty and raiment cannot diminish. So he can't treat the first woman any differently than he treats the second.
I don't think
woman.
that was the interpretation. I don't think that was what God.
Go
was
to Proverbs 3 and 5 real quick, Sini. Sorry, JR. I'll be done in just a second. So I just want to clarify this.
I don't think any of this is proving you correct. I think again, I don't think that was
it's a landslide. But go to Proverbs 3 and 5.
I don't think that was prescribing that they should have multiple.
It's all good. Go to Proverbs 3 and 5 real quick.
Hold on, Hamp. I think I want you to repeat them verses.
Yeah, can you repeat the verses?
Yes, ma'am.
You said something about
Acts 21. And jump to verse 20. You can read from the top if you like, but essentially, it shows how Paul actually sacrifices, and James tells him to. What does Proverbs 3 and 5 say?
3 and 5, trust the Lord with all thine heart and lean not unto thine own understanding.
Yeah, because you said that a couple of times. You saying your interpretation, right? But you shouldn't be interpreting anything because remember your initial premise, real quick. Your initial premise was to make sure that men didn't have wives except for under the guise of war. And so every time you're reading something, you're putting the women in duress in order for the men to have two wives, right? Let me bring you to the
So I don't think
that's just what you've been doing. So right, it's disingenuous.
Right. I get what you're saying, but the problem is that I don't think that I got it wrong.